He says it would make it easier for doctors to prescribe unapproved drugs without fear of legal prosecution.
Yes. Every once in a while, people in politics do something you can applaud. And this time, the folks in Alaska have done something very courageous to push back against federal encroachment. What have they done? Well, the Alaskan Legislature and the Alaskan Senate voted 40-0 and 20-0 to pass HB 43, a right to try bill, which now goes to the governor of the state and will become law unless he vetoes it. The right to try pertaining to what? The right of people who are terminally ill to actually get experimental drugs without having to go to their great overlords in the FDA to get permission.
It's a win-win situation. The patient who's terminally ill has the potential to save their life, gets access to these drugs. The doctors have the opportunity to, if they feel comfortable providing these drugs.
In addition to that, it goes a step further. What it does is protect the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors who might help them get those drugs from prosecution and liability, which is a very, very big deal. This is a huge deal for so many sick people that I thought it would be important to mention it. And I thought it was important for another reason, because this not only helps people who are terminally ill take drugs that could potentially help them and save their lives or prolong their lives, but it does something for us as well. It does something whereby it gives us intellectual ammunition, things to remember about how the government is supposed to operate. You see, this pushes back against the FDA. Absolutely. And as Dr. Mary Ruwart has mentioned, the FDA is responsible for hundreds of thousands of needless deaths due to higher expenses, longer waiting periods, and just the general fear of corporations being able to put out drugs the way they should be able to put them out. In her new book, Death by Regulation, Mary Ruwart spells all of this out and how it started in 1962 when the federal government granted the FDA all this massive power to stop us from actually ingesting things that could help us. Can you imagine if the people of the Revolutionary era were stopped by the Crown from actually ingesting something? In fact, that led to the Boston Tea Party, which was one of the catalysts for the American Revolution. In the Constitution, there is no provision for a government agency to control what we can eat and drink. I'm sort of shocked by that because we've been living with this for so many decades. Indeed, according to the 9th and 10th Amendments, whatever is not explicitly enumerated for the federal government to do in Article 1, then it is not supposed to be a power granted to the Congress. The rest of the powers and the rights are reserved to the individuals and the states. And Thomas Jefferson spoke about this very eloquently in 1798 during the Alien and Seditions Act crisis when he wrote the Kentucky Resolutions. And he explicitly stated exactly what I'm saying. He said that only the powers that are granted to the federal government enumerated in the Constitution are theirs, and the rest are left up to the states and the individuals. So, Alaska has not only freed people who are terminally ill to give them the opportunity to take drugs that could save their lives, they have done something for the rest of us to learn and spread the word, to remember what the Constitution says. After all, it's the rule book by which they swear they will operate, right? Why don't we remind them of their rules once in a while, the way the people of Alaska are doing right now? Congratulations, people in Alaska. We are going to learn from you and watch. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.